There are a bunch of companies out there that offer you an upgrade to your current mic, though unlike downloading RAM for your computer, don't do that by the way, this is a relatively easy process if you have a bit of skill as a tinkerer. But is it worth doing? And frankly, who needs to do this? Should you? All these questions are answered and more. Now, I don't know a lot about the companies that offer the capsule swap, but I did choose microphoneparts.com. I avoided looking at any of the reviews on their products before ordering, though I did reach out to them to see if they wanted to work on a video like this with me. If you believe in your product, let's get it under the spotlight, right? Well, they refused, which I did find a bit odd. Now, according to the email exchange, he said he didn't want anyone screwing up the process and making his company look bad. Sounds kind of weak if you ask me, because I can just spend my money and do that anyways if I want to. Not sure if I'm going to make him look bad, but a statement like that kind of sounds like the blame card if it doesn't sound as advertised. Anyhow, I picked up the NT2A upgrade kit, which is the RK47 capsule, intended to be the U47 capsule. Now, according to their website, they say this is necessary due to the Chinese microphone syndrome for having a, quote, peaky and bright capsule with a linear circuit. So in layman's terms, the new capsule is intended to smooth out the top end, and while not a radical revoicing, should allow the user to mic on more sources. I guess we're about to find out. By the way, in case you're playing along at home, the total cost of this swap is a bit over $200. All right, so the process is pretty simple from here on out. We're just disassembling the microphone. A few things to take off, a few screws, in order to show the capsule. It's underneath this right here. So we're going to take this off, and you're going to see the old capsule all sputtered with spit as well. Sorry if you're eating, that's kind of gross. Now, one of the things I did notice here is that the wires coming down are wired into a certain spot. So you have to pay attention to where the front capsule is soldered onto that board. So make sure you keep when you go to put the next capsule on, you make sure that the front capsule is soldered into the right joint so you don't have everything backwards. Now, I also noticed something interesting here, and that is that I've watched a couple NT2A teardowns, and they all seem to have slightly different saddles for the capsule. Mine is completely encased in plastic here, with that little spongy knob on the top. That knob you kind of want to keep because that's what keeps the capsule stable inside that shell. So you'll notice I'm not exactly sure what's going on at this point, so I end up having to take the whole plastic saddle apart. Now, this new capsule does come with its own saddle, so there's no big deal, but you really want to make sure at this point that you're not touching the old capsule, especially if you want to use it again. So make sure your fingers are always on the edge. Here's that new the new saddle. We're going to be putting this microphone onto, or this capsule onto that saddle. This is the new RK47, and it goes together with a couple screws right in the bottom of the saddle there. And it's, once again, super simple to put together. You get those screws put in, and you're off to the races. The only other thing that you have to do other than these two screws is, of course, that ground wire. So there it is. It's pretty much almost completely installed. So we're going to get that ground wire in using the included ground wire screw because it's smaller and it's not going to go into the capsule as much. And now we just end up tinning the wires and getting ready to solder those two leads on. Once again, remember, I told you, make sure you're paying attention to what the front capsule is and making sure that the front capsule wire goes into the spot designated for it on the board. Now, excuse my weak soldering skills. I'm a very caffeinated person, and I don't solder all the time. One of the things actually I want to get better at is my soldering. I'm going to start doing a little bit more practice involved with that because this is actually a lot of fun to do. This is kind of a nice Saturday afternoon thing, which is funny because this is a Saturday afternoon for me. We'll get that final lead on. Now, you notice I also didn't desolder and take off the ground wire. That's because you don't have to. You can replace the ground wire, but there's no real need to. And just like that, Everything's basically taken care of. Now, all we really have to do is to get that plastic shell on top of that capsule and have it hold on. And then I put the shell on and basically just reassembled the microphone. It's that simple. So I guess mostly we're left with why. I mean, why are we taking this relatively fine mic and doing surgery, a somewhat risky thing to do? Well, there's a few reasons actually. First of all, I can. For lack of a better term, why not? I like to tinker, and if you do as well, and you're decent with a soldering iron, well, this might be some good fun on the weekend for you. And I know there's going to be a few people upset at that reasoning, I'm sure. So for you, there are a few other reasons as well. You might actually want a better sounding mic, and I will leave it up to you to decide if this is better sounding. I actually like it, but I don't see it as a complete win, as I already like the sound of the NT2A to begin. It is much flatter, and I can see it being better for bright instruments, for sure. But it is a relatively cheap way to upgrade your mic instead of going out to buy another mic of similar value to the NT2A. And I mean, come on, it is easily reversible as well. Lastly though, and probably most importantly, you might need to do this. These capsules can easily become dull or damaged over time. Something as small as spit on the capsule can have horrible consequences on the sound quality of your microphone. Something like this can be a way to rejuvenate or even repair a mic that is destined for the trash. No matter your reasoning, it isn't a horrible idea for some, especially with some of those kits for much cheaper mics that they have for sale. But sadly, I do have to say this. This is in no way going to be a miracle that lets you sound like you're using a Neumann U47. You probably won't be completely blown away by the differences. That said, I might find a home for this capsule in another body so I can get this nice warm sound as well as still having my NT2A on the shelf when I want that brighter sound. I guess I can call this not a horrible waste of my money. But I want to know, what do you think? Is this an upgrade or more of a lateral move for sound quality? Let me know down below. Also, if you want to watch my horrible soldering skills in another video, check this one out.